Think about how much trash you throw away every day, from your disposable coffee cup to the plastic bag you put your produce in at the market, to the multiple boxes and bags involved in every online order that shows up at your mailbox. 30 to 40% of food ends up in the trash, too. For those of us not involved in the collection and disposal of trash and who don't live in the neighborhoods expected to store it all, we have the privilege of saying, out of sight, out of mind. In this digital story, I want to show you what happens to our trash and why we all, including business and industry, need to decrease what ends up in the flow of trash in the first place. Trash is nothing new. The first landfill opened in Crete in 3000 BC, deep holes to hold trash that would be covered with dirt. Trash management was largely seen as an aesthetic issue until the 1840s, when a UK report linked disease to poor environmental conditions. Money went first to sewer and water systems, but towns and cities started sanitation departments to deal with trash collection and disposal at largely unregulated dump sites. New York City, for example, just dumped its trash straight into the ocean until the mid-1900s. Baltimore's solid waste collection started in 1872 with horse-drawn carts. Today, Baltimore's Solid Waste Bureau processes over 150,000 tons of trash a year just from people's homes. The Bureau also processes nearly 400,000 requests a year for cleanups at vacant properties and to clear alleys and storm drains of the litter that clogs their flows. All that trash ends up at the city's waste transfer stations and is off to landfills or to incinerators like the Wheelabrator plant in the Westport neighborhood of South Baltimore. Wheelabrator opened in 1985 and it converts over 2,000 tons of trash a day into electricity sold to local utilities. Sounds like a great solution, right? Not so fast. Incinerators emit pollutants that can affect the health of those around them. In 2009, Energy Answers applied to build an incinerator in the Fairfield neighborhood of Curtis Bay in far south Baltimore. It would have been the largest incinerator in the country, burning up to 4,000 tons of trash a day. For those in its neighborhood, including 4 schools and 2 within just a mile of the planned plant, it would have added to the existing environmental crises they were already facing. People in Curtis Bay, Brooklyn, and Hawkins Point already lived with over 13 million pounds of hazardous air pollutants a year. Residents in these communities face some of the highest death rates from chronic lower respiratory diseases in Baltimore City. Students, residents, and other advocates organized to stop the building of this incinerator. Students at Benjamin Franklin High School, who would have been less than a mile from the plant, organized as Free Your Voice. Working with United Workers and others, these organizers went door to door to help everyone understand the risks of the planned incinerator. They planned direct action protests and convinced the Baltimore City public school system to end their contract with Energy Answers. The incinerator was not built thanks to the fearless activism of young people like Destiny Watford, Josh Acevedo, Shashwanda Campbell, and other young people who refused to become the dumping ground for even more of our city's trash. These organizers prove that we can stop the dumping of trash in already toxic areas, and areas that are largely populated by poor residents, Black residents, and other marginalized groups. Environmental racism is real in cities all over the country, these neighborhoods bearing the brunt of the externalities of a waste system that ends with them. The fight continues now against the Wheelabrator plant. Formerly known as Baltimore Refuse Energy Systems Company, or BRESCO, the plant produces more mercury, lead, and greenhouse gas emissions than any coal-fired power plant in the state, and those things aren't clean. In 2011, the EPA started monitoring emissions, and the plant was required to renew its air pollution permit. Yeah, it was operating without a permit. None of that means the pollution has stopped. In 2021, the incinerator was the single largest standing source of air pollution in Baltimore. Waste also ends up in landfills. Hazardous and other waste goes to Hawkins Point in, you guessed it, far south Baltimore. This includes the ash generated by the Wheelabrator plant. The same area hosts Curtis Bay Medical Waste Services, Key Recycling Center, the city composting facility, and Camura Water Solutions, a water treatment supplier. There's a trash industry in South Baltimore that puts our neighbors at risk. Litter often ends up in our waterways, swept up into storm drains to the Jones Falls and onto the Inner Harbor. In 2015, Mr. Trash Wheel, a solar-powered trash interceptor invented by John Kellett, took up residence in the Inner Harbor. Mr. Trash Wheel, Professor Trash Wheel, Captain Trash Wheel, and Gwenda the Good Wheel of the West now work together to remove waste from our waterways. So far, they have collected over 2,000 tons of trash. The trash wheels are cute, but the work they do is deadly serious, and it isn't enough. The best way to keep our water clean is to keep litter off our streets in the first place. Trash Free Maryland works to decrease litter at the source through policy changes like charging for disposable bags, banning polystyrene foam containers, putting points on people's licenses for illegal dumping, and requiring recycling at large public events, along with organizing public cleanups and the installation of trash cans in cities. Dumping is a huge issue in neighborhoods surrounding local waste transfer stations and in neighborhoods with vacant homes and lots. No one should have to live with the city's waste in their yard, and organizers like the Zero Waste Campaign are pushing to end trash at its source. There is still so much work to do, but it is essential that we decrease the amount of trash produced by individuals, businesses, and industries in the first place if we are ever to get out from under our own piles of it. We have to start seeing our trash rather than just tossing it in a can and leaving it for others to take care of. Kicking the can down the road only works for so long, and then we're nothing but our cans.